Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have the fantastic Mr. Fox. This is a 2009 film. It's an hour and 28 minutes long, and it's from Wes Anderson. You'll know him from the Royal Tannenbaums to Rushmore, Darjeeling Limited, all sorts of other films. He is The French Dispatch coming up, or is out already. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen it yet. Uh, he's an eclectic, let's just say, director who has a certain way of filming things, and that translates even into stop motion animation. If you know Wes Anderson's stuff, I don't really need to educate you, but if you're not and you happen to come across some of the films, he loves shooting straight on his characters when they have a conversation with each other, especially if it's a face-to-face conversation, rather than having a two-shot where the two of them are next to each other and going back and forth. He'll shoot Jason Schwartzman, which is a common character in his films. He'll shoot him talking to the camera, usually from a distance, so he can frame them in a sort of a large space. Also, sometimes at this sort of mid-range space, and then he'll cut over to Owen Wilson, who is also a common member of his cast. Many casts, and just go back and forth. And he does that even with animated foxes, stop motion animated foxes and badgers and everything else. Speaking of actors in this, it is a star-studded affair, just like pretty much everything else he does. And it's often actors that aren't necessarily known for eclectic things, but in this case you get George Clooney as the fantastic Mr. Fox, and his wife is played by Meryl Streep. Yeah, two iconic actors giving voice to stop motion animated animals. Now, if you don't know what stop motion animation is, well, I'm not going to really explain it to you. Really, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's a very old form of animation. The people that are doing the most of it these days is the studio called Leica. They do Paranorman and that's one of my favorites. But Coraline, things like that. We've seen it around. It's just taking literally a frame at a time, every slight motion of character. So this is a full stop motion animated film. Starring George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Jason Schwartzman, Owen Wilson, of course. Bill Murray, of course, shows up again. He's always, even if he has a small role or a big role, no matter what, I think he has to use Bill Murray in this. In this film, Bill Murray plays a badger who's an accountant or a lawyer. No, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer, yeah, because he kind of handles the affairs of Mr. Fox, who... by the way, this is based on a Roald Dahl book. I want to say Ronald. I want to put that N in there every time, but no, it's not. He's the guy behind Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, Matilda. Has a few others I'm just not thinking of right now, but yeah, he's if you ever saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka, it's all based on his work, and this is one more, but it came out. The book this is based on came out in 1970, so it's pretty old. It's about a little more than 50 years old. But this came out in 2009, and it is a different take on that story. I have not read it myself, but I did look into it to see if there was any differences after watching it. And yeah, it doesn't end the way the book does, as far as I can tell. I tried to stay away from too many spoilerish things, but it is very much Wes Anderson's vision and view on this adventure, where Mr. Fox, pretty much sort of like a George Clooney character in like Ocean's 13 or Ocean's 11 and 12 and 13. Why did I say 13? Ocean's 11 was the original. Anyway, he kind of has aspirations of not being poor. So he used to be a chicken killer. He used to go around, as foxes are, and go around to the farms and grab chickens, kill them, beat them. His wife pretty much wanted to get him out of that dangerous profession because she was pregnant. And from there on, he decides to go into a different profession as they raise their child. And their child is played by Jason Schwartzman. And he has aspirations of being a whole lot more than he currently is. He thinks he's an athlete. He is not. He loves comic books and wearing a superhero cape wherever he goes. And when his cousin comes to stay with them for a bit, well, his cousin is pretty much good at everything. Everything that Ash, played by Jason Schwartzman, wants to be, his cousin is. So, in the process of all this, I mean, there's lots of little storylines that go throughout that are just trademarks of a Wes Anderson story. The main plot of this is George Clooney's character, Fantastic Mr. Fox, decides, along with his possum sidekick, to rob, in one last scheme, and to pull themselves out of poverty, in a sense, steal from the three biggest, meanest, ugliest human food producers in the region. And this takes place in England, even though apparently all the animal characters are voiced by Americans. All the humans are played by English people, including Michael Gambon, who you might recognize as Dumbledore from the Harry Potter films, the later Dumbledore, not the original. So, yeah, it's it's a big adventure. I love stop motion animation, especially when they have the opportunity to do a lot of cheats in these things, and I love that I can't tell if they've done any cheating when it comes to the animation. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of artistry that goes into creating every single piece of every puppet in this thing, and there's a lot of animals and there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's kind of, to me, it's absolutely art. You may think otherwise, and you may or may not like Wes Anderson, or you may or may not like the idea that somebody had dared to make an adaptation of this book and not do it down to the letter. Yeah, don't expect this to be a down to the letter adaptation, but it's got the same structure, let's say, but with all the quirkiness of a Wes Anderson film. Of course, it's got all the musical drops, the needle drops that you'd expect from a Wes Anderson film. I think it's the Beach Boys is at least used once, maybe twice. I could be wrong. But he usually uses more independent or foreign acts and things like that. Music does play a part in this. There is a sequence where a human character plays a song that is just nonsensical, and he's told as much. But yeah, there's other appearances by other actors. William Dafoe plays a rat, and so you gotta, if nothing else, the second you hear him speak, you're like, they cast him perfectly. He makes a perfect rat. And he just comes off as super creepy and just weird. So it's honestly, I held off watching this for so long. I had opportunities to see it, and I was just like, yeah, I'll hold off. Just didn't have the chance, and now I'm finally glad that the Disney Plus Celebrity Challenge has chosen to pick this. I think it did get picked early on, way back when, but it still wasn't on Disney Plus. It was expected to be, but it wasn't available at launch, I don't think. Yeah, because this was selected before, and this is a 20th Century Fox film, not a Disney film, so it was acquired in the merger or the acquisition or whatever. It's a big deal. So I highly recommend this. If you love animation, if you love Wes Anderson, this is definitely a movie for you. If either of those things are not your thing, or if you like Wes Anderson and not animation, which I don't get, but I love all sorts of types of film. But maybe you might not get into this. I don't know. I don't understand that, but I enjoy Wes Anderson films. But I don't get to see all of them right when they come out, unfortunately. It just doesn't become a priority for me. Eventually I see them on video, like now. So anyway, it's worth your time for me. If you're anything like me, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but if you like animation and Wes Anderson and George Clooney and Jason Schwartzman and Meryl Streep and all those types of people and Bill Murray, of course, this is definitely something I recommend. It's not like your every other Disney film you're going to find on Disney Plus. That's for sure. One of the things I like about this is that they have the opportunity to swear in this, and every time there's a profanity, they use the word cuss. That cussin' kid, oh, what the cuss is he up to now? They use the word cuss, and they take it so far as if you watch later in the film when there's a above ground scene in the town where some of the final conflict happens, you can see a building behind some of the other buildings high up. There's some graffiti on the wall that just says "cuss" in rainbow colors. It's kind of funny. So they take that whole cuss thing to the full extent. And this is. I can't say this is a children's film or children's animation film. I know people associate animation very often with it being for kids. And when you see stuff on Disney, yeah, a lot of it, 99% of it is, if not more, is pretty much for kids. And this, yeah, kids can watch this and enjoy it and probably appreciate it, hopefully. But this is very much more adult. Even though there's nothing, I don't think there's anything objectionable that a kid could watch or hear on this and go, ask uncomfortable questions, let's say. It doesn't, I don't think there's anything that really, I don't know, comes up. It's just it's quirky, it's weird, and it may not fit into the nice, neat, clean bubble of safe movie watching you might have for your family, but I think it's also not an offensive film in any way. So again, I'm going to recommend it. I enjoy it. Maybe you and your older kids, teens maybe, might appreciate it. 5-year-olds, maybe not so much. Although they might find all the little animals interesting to look at. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
107.
Quick and easy. 107, and we don't have to scroll far. 107. Oh, okay. Well, going back in the documentary pile, digging out through there. Imagine this is about the ocean, but we will see. It's from 2003, and it's called Deep Blue. Deep Blue, not Deep Blue Sea with Samuel L. Jackson. No, it is Deep Blue, and so we'll check that out. Deep Blue on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.